Hello, good morning. Why is Don Lemon late? Welcome to Hot Topics. I'm late because you guys should know, I bike to work every day, and sometimes there's traffic, sometimes there's not. Sometimes there's not bikes available. I have to go to different bike docks. I don't know if you guys ever heard of City Bike. So it's like a shared bike system, and you got to go and find them if they're near you, wherever they are. So, good morning, everybody. I could not find bikes at two things this morning, and so I'm a little bit late. I apologize. Also, I changed the show. So I'm like talking to producers on my bicycle. I have my earbuds in. It's picking up wind noises, people next to me talking. I'm not sure if they understand. Do you understand, Nikki, what I'm saying sometimes in the thing? Do you always understand? You can tell me if you do. You can click in. Yes, no, she's not even.
Most of the time, yeah.
Most of the time, yes.
Sometimes it takes a little deciphering, I'll admit.
Can you hear the wind noise when I'm doing that? Oh, no, you can't hear the wind noise on text, right? But when I'm talking to you, you can hear the wind noise, right?
But there are some times where I'll look at a word and be like, that can't be what he meant to say. It's a fun little deciphering activity.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. See, I'm tough to work with. What can I say? We do need a LemoNation mug. This is a YouTube mug, but we can get a LemoNation mug. So listen, thank you, guys, for joining us. I'm so happy. I'm so proud to be part of this. This is really your community. So proud to be a part of the LemoNation. And I get folks stopping me all the time, which I really love, saying, hey, I'm a Lemonhead, which is great. Okay, so rise and shine, Don, says Beatrice Velasco. Good morning from Winsome. Linda Ferker says, hi from Southern California. Wow, you're up early in Southern California. Don, you need a car service and a ride back. You're done when you're done with the show, says Yukimo. No. You spend so much time when you get in cars here in traffic that it would take me probably, it's maybe a 7 to 10 minute bike ride. It would take me at least 30, 45 minutes to get here in a car. It's just kind of crazy. So as long as the weather is good, I bike in. I take the car when I need it. I used to have to take the car all the time, by the way, when I worked over at the CNN because of the MAGA folks had, I had death threats and all that stuff. So they wouldn't allow me to take the subway then. So I had to take the car service all the time, and I just sit in that car in traffic, and it was just miserable. Okay, so good morning, everybody. This is what we're going to talk about. We have a lot to discuss. We're going to talk about some things that are really, really important to you and some things that are just juicy, right, that you're just going to like. So let me just give you the topics. We're going to talk about Jack Smith, the latest. You know, Jack Smith, the special prosecutor. There's some new information as it relates to Donald Trump. They've unsealed some new documents in an indictment. Hurricane Helene, they're trying to get this whole immunity thing turned over. Hurricane Helene, it's devastating. I believe it's up to like almost 200 people now, 180 some people who have been caught up in this. The Longshoreman strike is not everything that it was. Are they selling a bill of goods? It's not, maybe not everything that they're selling here. And we need to talk about that. There's some politics involved, I do believe. That is what people are saying. That is what people are saying. By the way, since I mentioned that, producers, if we can find our friends over at the Bulwark, they have really been on this. And if we can find something of them talking about it, I would really like to share some of their reporting and some of their discussion if we can get that. So we're going to talk about the Longshoreman and the head guy's relationship, the union president, the relationship to Donald Trump. Melania Trump has some surprises in her new book, but can you trust what she says? Can you trust what she says? Do you believe her? And then Diddy and the new allegations. There are people who are saying that their concerns about the new attorney that's filing all of this 120, new allegations, and that how it's, it just happens to be 60 men and 60 women, and then these really frightening charges about minors, or at least a minor here. Like, what is this attorney up to? Is he an ambulance chaser? Is he, is this a pile-on? That's a concern out there. Okay, so you folks are really weighing in on Melania. Wow, wow, wow. So let's talk about January 6th, please. Is that what you're going to talk about? Okay, so this is where we're going to start. I'm going to give you a little update on Jack Smith, January 6th, trying to overturn the election. A federal judge unsealed a 165-page motion pertaining to Donald Trump's January 6th trial. The judge did it on Wednesday, revealing details and co-conspirators connected to the former president's 2020 election subversion scheme. Now, at one point in here, Smith is detailing, it goes into detail about how the Trump campaign employee was informed that a final batch of ballots at a Detroit vote counting center, that it would favor Joe Biden. Find a reason it isn't, the staffer said. Give me options to file litigation. And then when a colleague, let me make sure I want to give this. Give me options to file litigation. That's fraudulent. You guys know that's fraudulent to say that, especially about an election. That's why I'm so shocked that this election is so close, and I'm so shocked that people say that they are undecided. At one point, Smith details how a Trump campaign employee was informed that a final batch of ballots at a Detroit vote counting center would favor Joe Biden. Find a reason it isn't. That's a quote, the staffer said. Give me options to file litigation. When a colleague warned doing so could spark unrest, the staffer replied, make them riot. So this motion from Jack Smith also indicates that the special counsel intends to prove Trump and his allies baselessly invented claims that non-citizens were voting in U.S. elections. Again, baseless claims. I'm telling you guys about this. We've been telling you, do not believe the okie doke. These MAGA people believe it. I don't know if they believe it or they don't care. It's probably a combination of both. File motions to indicate the special counsel intends to prove that Trump and his allies baselessly invented claims that non-citizens were voting in U.S. elections and ignored indications that their theory that dead Americans were casting their votes was flat out wrong. The motion further reveals that the MAGA politicos failed to deliver on their own election fraud theories. They promised to package up, this is a quote, package up evidence of election stealing crime and then never delivered it to its intended recipients, namely the former Arizona Governor Doug Ducey, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, where two prongs of scheme have resulted in sprawling election conspiracy cases. Andy, I'm hearing myself back. It seems like someone has something open. A key is open or something. I can hear myself back. There you go. Fixed it. Thank you, Andy. Appreciate that. Okay, so that is where we are with Jack Smith. Now, I want the folks who can explain it better to you are the people who are actually covering this, the legal folks and all of that, who have been uncovering and talking about all of these issues. Let's see where I want to start. Let's start with Chuck Rosenberg on Morning Joe saying, no, let's talk about the evidence. This is Andrew Weissman. This is Andrew Weissman on MSNBC talking about new evidence in the case against Trump. Here it is.
I mean, this is bombshell after bombshell after bombshell.
I actually literally highlighted every single page. It's just all yellow.
Exactly. I mean, it's the kind of thing as you read it, you and I are old enough to remember Watergate. I mean, this is Watergate over and over again. The idea that this is a cancer on the presidency, and with no disrespect at all to the January 6th committee that did an incredible job, what they couldn't get, given that they have far fewer tools than criminal prosecutors, as Tim knows very well, is so much direct evidence where it's conversations with Donald Trump over and over again. And in addition to what you just went through, just so many people telling him there was no fraud that made any difference here. Mike Pence is telling that. His campaign is telling that. Lawyers are telling that over and over again. It is useful to remember the reason this is public is because Judge Chutkan denied Donald Trump's motion that he was making opposing this ever being anything that we could see. He continued to make motions saying no one should ever see this. It was rejected in a written decision by Judge Chutkan today. and she then released this. So that is why we have it over his opposition. And now that we can see it, we know for damn well why it is that he didn't want anyone to see this, in the same way that Richard Nixon didn't want anyone to see those tapes.
Interesting. So here's the thing. They're trying to decide whether the president was acting in official capacity as president of the United States. And that's going to be, some of it, they will probably say yes. Most of it, they will say no, depending on the statement, because he was also a candidate as president of the United States, because it was re-election. It had to do with a campaign. It wasn't as if it was acting state or U.S. official government business. It was acting on behalf of a campaign workers, campaign employees, asking people to give votes. So they're going to try to make a distinction. Well, was he president at the time? Yes. But he's not president acting in an official capacity. Official capacity would be acting on business that has nothing to do with the campaign. And so I think Jack Smith has a really good case here, because he's going to say, this has nothing to do with, he wasn't talking about Iran. He wasn't even talking about Ukraine, which got him impeached. He wasn't even talking about a storm down south. What he's talking about is something that would get him reelected as president of the United States, when he knew that all official evidence pointed in a different direction, that people were telling him, official people, even those in his campaign, and you heard what the a campaign worker said, unless it isn't, give me something to file litigation about. That's not acting in an official capacity, whether he's president or not. Here's Chuck Rosenberg on Morning Joe explaining, probably better than I can. Watch.
Rosenberg. So this is 165 pages, as Mika said. There's a lot to sift through, a lot of detail. It's clear that a lot of the testimony is coming directly from Mike Pence, among other people who are around Donald Trump. But it seems to me, and I'll let you walk us through and explain, the core argument here is that Donald Trump was not acting as president. He was acting as a presidential candidate, effectively, when talking to Mike Pence about these things.
There you go.
I think that's exactly right, Willie. The Supreme Court said that certain official conduct is off limits, that a president, any president, Mr. Trump in this case, would be immune from prosecution for official acts. And so the government's brief here, it's styled as a motion for the judge to make determinations about immunity. But the thrust of the government's brief here, Willie, is that Mr. Trump was not acting in an official capacity. He was acting in a private capacity as a candidate, not as a president, but as a candidate trying to secure re-election. And so all of those 165 pages have a similar theme. They lay out a series of acts, of conversations between the president and private officials, for the most part, explaining that the president was willfully blind to the facts that he had lost, that he was urging people to act in fraudulent and dishonest ways, and that he's trying to retain office. All of this is intended to convince the district court judge, the trial judge, Judge Chutkan, that these are all prosecutable acts, that they're not immune. Remember, the Supreme Court had the easy job, Willie. All they had to do was pronounce a rule. Judge Chutkan has the really hard job. She has to implement the rule. And the government is trying to give her a path, a roadmap to implement the rule in a way that they believe means that Mr. Trump still may be prosecuted for all of these unofficial acts as a candidate.
So there you go. That explains it. That he still can be prosecuted for all of these unofficial acts as a candidate. Now, they're still going to have to, the judge is still going to have to rule on it, and what they will probably do is send it back to the Supreme Court. That's what they're probably going to have to do to it. So as you know, it is always, as always with Donald Trump and the MAGA folks, regardless of just how terrible it is, that it is a witch hunt, that everyone is out to get him. Remember, nothing is ever Donald Trump's fault. And I always tell you guys this, really think about it. It's childlike behavior. If you have children, or if you work with children, you know it's never their behavior. What did you, I didn't do it, somebody else did it. There's always an excuse. Nothing is ever Donald Trump's fault. Do you ever notice that? And if you're a MAGA person or a Trump supporter and you're in here, why is nothing ever his fault? Why do you continue to make excuses for anything he does? Well, guess what he's saying? He's saying that it's a witch hunt again and they're out to get him. Here he is responding to it.
I know that Special Counsel Jack Smith had filed court documents calling your actions in the aftermath of the 2020 election, quote, a private criminal effort. Can you respond to that?
He's a deranged person. I call him deranged Jack Smith. He just lost the big documents case. That was the biggest of them all. They said the documents case, and they said that was the toughest of them all. Let me tell you, we just won it. He works for Kamala and he works for Joe. This was a weaponization of government, and that's why it was released 30 days before the election. And it's nothing new in there, by the way, nothing new. They rigged the election. I didn't rig the election. They rigged the election. What they do is they rig the election and then they go around getting people and persecuting people and prosecuting people that did nothing wrong. They rigged the election. These are crooked people. Deranged Jack Smith is a prosecutor who was put there in order to screw up the election for the Republican Party. The people know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. And it's not going to happen.
Oh, my gosh. Come on, guys. There is absolutely no indication at all that the election was stolen. None, zero, zilch, none. 60 courts in the land, 60, with Trump appointed judges. Everyone is always out to get him. Do you guys need to be deprogrammed? Donald Trump is a con man. Donald Trump is a professional liar. And that's who people, a convincing liar? As someone asked in the comments, yeah, he's convincing if you're a mark, if you're part of the MAGA cult. He's convincing to the cult, people actually believe him. People actually believe him. Again, he was not acting in an official capacity as a president when you're trying to get votes, when you're trying to get people to give votes. Imagine, now I just want you guys to imagine this, right? Imagine if it was Joe Biden or Kamala Harris saying, hey, look, let's work on this. So, let's work on this. Someone says there's a troll in the thing. I don't know. Someone named Shane Lindy. Let him come in. He needs to learn. If Shane Lindy is in there, he needs to learn. Let him in. School him. If he's a MAGA cult, if he is a mark for Donald Trump and the MAGA cult, let him come in because perhaps we can deprogram him. And then he can go back to the other cult followers and be deprogrammed. Maybe he can deprogram them. And they will, leave the cult before they possibly end up in a situation similar to Jim Jones. You guys know who Jim Jones was, right? That's how you see how people follow people that they believe? You follow people you believe. Oh my gosh, you're separated from your family. You feel part of a community. You feel like, oh, yeah, this makes me feel good like a man. This makes me feel like I belong. Because then otherwise you have nothing. Right? Otherwise you have nothing. Someone says turn up the mic. I don't know. Are you guys having trouble hearing me? Maybe you've turned the volume up. I don't know. No one has said that they had trouble hearing me. The drinking the Kool-Aid, that's where drinking the Kool-Aid came from. And all of those people, those wonderful, smart human beings who got co-opted by a con man, ended up being separated from their families, and some of them ended up dying, which was sad. These folks who are drinking the MAGA cult Kool-Aid, that they believe that nothing is ever Donald Trump's fault. Donald Trump is lying about an election being stolen. He's a liar. And yet you want to vote for that. So, I mean, maybe Kamala Harris and Tim Walz should just start lying. They should just start lying, because maybe they would win by lying instead of winning by telling the truth. Or, you know, maybe it would be a guaranteed win if they just started lying like Donald Trump. So let's talk about the timing here, which is really interesting to me. And then then I'll play what's his name, Michael Steele. But this is Rachel Maddow. I want to talk about the timing because, as I was saying yesterday to Charles Blow on the program, this is giving 2016 vibes all over again with James Comey and Hillary Clinton so close to the election. Remember, you know, with the emails and all of that. And then it turns out just days before the election, he's like, oh, there's nothing here. And then Hillary Clinton lost. And I'm sure that had an effect on her campaign. Start lying. Don't start lying, Kamala and Tim. I don't know. Maybe they would win if they just started lying like Donald Trump, because he still seems to have a lot of support even when he lies. Maybe it's because he's lying. And I think he has to lie because he has nothing to sell. There's no accomplishments. He's a failed businessman. So, anyways, so here we go. Okay. This is Rachel Maddow talking about the timing of this, and especially considering on stage at the debate, J.D. Vance was very convincing. He's a slick liar, right? A slick lie is still a lie, right? He sold a bill of goods to the American people, and then the very next day, Jack Smith comes out and throws cold water on all of this stuff that he said. Here it is.
Another thing that I think is important is that this happens right on the heels, within 24 hours, of J.D. Vance rolling out among the most shameless, smooth-talking, revisionist history about what Donald Trump did on January 6th and what happened at the end of the 2020 election than we've ever seen. And usually that kind of stuff is delivered to a MAGA audience, right? Last night it was delivered to more than 40 million Americans by a guy who's very smooth-talking and portrayed it as if it was no big deal. And maybe it's only the Democrats who think this was a big deal. This shows that that revisionist history is absolute bunk. And when the court, I think, inevitably moves forward on the basis of this filing and says, yeah, Trump's not immune, he should be prosecuted, this proves that the case against him, the criminal case against him, is very, very strong and very detailed. It arrives sort of right in time, I think, to cut off what I think was the biggest blast and the most effective attempt at revisionist history on January 6th that we have yet seen. And it happened just last night.
So there you go. Rachel Maddow, always on target, right on target. Spot on, Rachel Maddow. Thank you for that. Okay, so I'm going to use this next one. Guys, make sure you hit the thumbs up, okay? Really appreciate it. By the way, I was talking. Tim came in. I was on making some dinner for us, and while I'm making dinner, I had to write this little speech and some notes that I had to give for Paint the Polls that I gave for Essence Magazine. You know, trying to convince people to get out and vote, encouraging people to go to the polls, to sign up. And they were asking, you know, at scale, how do you convince people and give them the facts as you do on your show? How do people do it in their daily lives? So I'm writing my notes, I'm making dinner, I'm on my phone, you know, going over things. And Tim walks in and he looks at and he's on YouTube and he goes, hey, this Hot Topic show is really catching on. And I said, yeah, it's a slow build up, but it's, you know, it's going to take time, but it builds up. I said, I get in the morning and I look at the YouTube, and folks are already in the comments waiting, saying, where's Don? What's her name this morning? Sorry, I can't remember the name. This morning was in the comments saying, I'm going to start the show without Don. He's just going to have to catch up with us. And you guys actually start the show in the comments before I get here, and I love it. So Tim comes in and he says, hey, it's catching on. I said, yeah, it's absolutely catching on 100%. And I'm always looking for content for the show. So if you have ideas for the show or hot topics that you want, let us know. Lenise Smith says, love hot topics. Look, we have some people on the West Coast that are up, right? You have the gift of gab, Don. Yes, thank you, Casual Observer. I'm sitting here and I'm just talking by myself. There's no teleprompter, nothing. It's just my little notes in my brain, right? I have some things that I put in there, like little notes, but nothing really. When you're someone, yes, not a think next door. I just like catch these and audio glitch. Is there an audio glitch? Don is frozen, it's saying. Do you guys know that? Something's happening on YouTube. There's a streaming glitch. What's going on? What do we do? I'm going to hold off a bit. I'm going to keep going, but I'm going to hold off. Don, you need Bayer or Excedrin. It's buffering. I need Bayer or Excedrin. Now we're good. Okay, we're back.
You should be good, Don. Sorry.
Yeah, that's nothing to do with us, guys. It's YouTube.
Nope, there was a YouTube glitch.
Yeah, there's a YouTube glitch. I mean, that used to happen on when I was on regular television. So you're back. So anyway, as I was saying, yes, someone said it sounds like you could hear. It sounds like a clothes dryer. Listen to this. So I believe what it is the plumbing system or something on the building next door or whatever, but there's pipes, there's a wall here, and on the other side of that wall, right, it's brick, there's another building. We're in a high-rise building in close to Midtown, New York, and in Manhattan. And so I think it's a building next door. Either it's like the plumbing system or the radiator for this building, and so sometimes you can hear it. But it does, it sounds like a clothes dryer. It's so weird. I don't know how we fix that. We'll have to work on it. But someone in the chat said, it is the sound of lemon drops. So we'll call it our lemon drop sound. I know how we can replace that sound. You know what I would love to do, guys? Nikki and Andy? I would love to get, do you remember the old sound of the, what do you call it? The teletype? They have it on news radio. That was the old sound of the teletype, which would have the news. Do you guys know that sound? The audio doesn't pick it up. I can hear it. Sometimes when I watch it from home, I can hear it. But the old news programs used to have a teletype in the background that sounded like a newsroom. And so perhaps we can do that. And that, maybe we'll do that. Am I doing laundry? I have a big pile to send over. I'm not doing laundry. Okay, so I just took a pause because we had a glitch. So let's get back to the show. Where was I? So I'm going to use this next soundbite to really segue into the next segment. It has something to do with both of these segments that I'm talking about. One, with the Jack Smith, and two, it has to do with the Longshoreman. So I'm going to go from here to the Longshoreman, okay? So this is Michael Steele. He's on Morning Joe, and he's talking about saying that what we have been saying, that the vice president has to stop being so careful. She has to stop listening to the people around her. She has to start doing things. She has to start taking chances. She has to get out from, behind the podium, out from behind the teleprompter. She's got to go into the lion's den sometimes, and she's just got to throw caution to the wind and just do it because she's not going to convince anyone. And then he sort of segues into what is happening as well with the Longshoreman and whether it is political. Here it is.
Respect to someone who's watching Fox or Newsmax or any of those stations, if that's their only source of news, there is nothing else we can say to them at this point. I don't think the Harris campaign can waste its time on convincing the unconvincible. What I think they need to look at are those voters out there who are sitting on the sidelines saying, I just don't know if I want to vote. And I think that's where their focus has to be, because those are the gettable voters. They're not necessarily going to be persuaded by that knockout punch. What you have to understand and get to is what is the thing that's keeping them from getting in the ring with Governor Walz. And I think a lot of that has to do with the economy, and which is why what's happening with the Longshoreman is so important. When you peel back that storyline and look at the relationship between, Mr. Daggett and the president, former president of the United States, and why now? And that you talk about October surprises, right? The planning around that, when there were people trying to get that resolved before we got to this point. So there are things that touch on the economy of people that they want to use as a reason for not speaking out and speaking on behalf of Walz and Harris. Then address that for them, because those are the voters you're going to need in those battleground states. The Fox viewer is not going to be moved by anything Kamala Harris has to say in the 34th day of the camp left in the campaign. But there are voters out there who are on the sidelines who are making the excuse for not getting in. So help them get over that excuse and give them the reason to get in the race, because that's where the richness of the vote lies for them.
Okay, so let's talk about that, because he mentioned the longshoremen and the dock workers. Longshoremen, dock workers at East Coast ports, now on strike, major labor action, real consequences for the U.S. international economy. It's thousands of members of the International Longshoremen's Association, which is the ILA. They stopped working, it happened on Tuesday, striking for a substantial compensation increase and protections from automation after years of record profits for the shipping companies that employ them. Okay, that all sounds well and good, and I'm sure obviously there's some truth in some of that. Now, I just want you to keep in mind as I go through this, I always want people to be compensated and to be paid their worth, okay? To be paid a fair living wage. Now, just remember, though, I want you to keep in mind how Republicans, MAGA folks mainly, and Republicans, how they feel about a guaranteed minimum wage or about raising minimum wage in this country. How they have talked against that and sort of demonized those who have fought to raise the minimum wage, saying the Dems and the Libs are crazy, that's going to put people out of business, and on and on and on. So, and on the Democratic side, they're saying, well, you're not looking out for the average workers. If you have rhetoric like that, if you have that belief that you're looking out for the business owner and for those who are making profits. So at another level, this is you got the longshoremen and the dock workers who make more money, as we found out, way more than your average worker, like at McDonald's or any fast food company, Burger King, whatever it is. They make way more money than them. You can't blame the workers, says Julie KM. Okay. I always say there's nuance in everything, all right? Because we hear about these dock workers, they walked off the job and oh my gosh, people are making billions. When we signed this contract under Donald Trump, that we're making millions. So here's some things, okay? The guy who is the head of the union is allied in some way and has a relationship with Donald Trump. The timing of this is suspicious, okay? I want to play a couple of things for you just so you know that there's nuance in everything. Okay, and then you're talking about a livable wage, $7.25 or below is poverty. We're not even talking $7.25 for these dock workers. They make a lot more money than that, and they're seeking a substantial pay increase. Now, I'm not saying that they shouldn't get it, but I'm just saying that you should know what's going on. I believe we have our friends over at the Bulwark right now, and if we can play just a little bit of this, and we'll go through it. Let's hit it if we have it.
Longshoreman, it has been a while since either of you have felt like real conservatives, but now you have your chance. And it's a little weird for me because I am fairly heavily pro-union, especially private sector unions. I get a little squirrely on public sector unions. But this longshoreman strike, being orchestrated by a guy making $900,000 a year as a close friend of Donald Trump, in which the demand seems to be ports can't upgrade technology. Are you kidding?
Yeah, I got to tell you, between watching Tim Walz be buddy with JD Vance right now and do the Minnesota Nice Guy Glee Club moderator thing and the fucking longshoreman, I've never felt more like a Chamber of Commerce Republican in my life. I might put a pocket constitution, might pick up a pocket constitution at the bodega here and put that back in my little breastplate like I used to have. But no, these guys are this is horrible. This is ridiculous. And JVO
right
used
there.
to say that
Pause it right here, okay? So listen, the guy who is a union, right, that we put on the other day, and he talked about, you heard the soundbite. The guy, that's a bad freeze of Tim. Sorry, Tim Miller. But the guy that we put on who's the head of the union talked about what they deserve. This guy makes anywhere, the hundreds of thousands of dollars. I believe it's from $700,000 to $900,000 a year. okay? And the dock workers make not quite that, but they make a lot of money. And again, the guy who's the head of the union, very cozy with Donald Trump. And again, the timing that people are concerned about. So again, I'm going to set this up and just to, because I haven't really seen this reporting, Harold Daggett. Thank you, Danny H. Let's continue on and listen to the Bulwark.
But no, these guys are this is horrible. This is ridiculous. And JVL used to say that the Biden was the Reagan third term, to troll our liberal progressive listeners. Officially not the Reagan third term if he's not going to crack down on these fuckers, or at least go there and say, let's turn the screws to try to force some deal for the next 5 weeks. I mean, if people are not getting their Amazon deliveries in late October, because these guys who are, look, I don't have any calluses on my hands. If they want better, higher wages, they're working their asses off. I get that. But there's 5 weeks left in the election. Everybody there's making six figures. This is not the call. We need to be able to get to the table, get people to work and work on a deal, do a deal while we're working. Okay. That's what needs to be happening here, or else we need some scabs.
Okay. Now that's Tim Miller saying that. Okay. That's Tim Miller. Now, you guys you want to know what's going on? Do you want to know what's going on? And I saw this guy on social media reporting on this. And then I did some fact checking and found out that most of what he's saying is true. Okay? So again, thank you, Nappy Chow. Make sure you hit the likes, okay? Less than half the folks who are here watching have hit the like button, so make sure you hit the like. Okay, so this is a man explaining, and I'm going to pause it and go through it, and I think it's important that you know, explaining what is going on with the port strike, what they're asking for, and how much money they make. Sit down and watch.
Union worker, so I can relate to this. These people that work the ports from Maine to Texas, they make a base salary of $81,000 a year. That is not what they make. With overtime, they can make up to $200,000 plus a year. Now that's a guy coming in off the street. No education, no nothing, gets hired on, joins the union. He makes a base salary of $81,000 up to $200,000 plus. No
okay,
education.
Pause this. Okay, no education. All right, fine. Now remember, he started, I don't know if you hear it, he said, I am a union guy, so I know about this. My cousin, says Ferry in the chat, my cousin's an ex-longshoreman and he makes, I missed it, let me get it right here. My cousin, let's see what he says, because I think it was very important what you said. I missed it. Here he is. My cousin's ex is a longshoreman and he made $200K a year and worked 4 days a week. Okay? Again, I'm like Tim Miller. I don't have any calluses on my hand. I don't do that. But when you actually dig deep into, that's why I say you have to know what you're going to the polls and what you're voting for. Everything is not, this is not as it seems or as it was laid out by this Daggett person. Okay? Continue on.
Our union, we have the same thing. We make a base salary of about $90,000, $100,000 a year without overtime. With overtime, we're looking at 120, 140, 150, up to 200,000 a year. Same thing. In our contract, we get 2.5% a year, 2.5% raise over 6 years. That's a 15% wage increase over 6 years. So right now, off the street, you're looking at around $35 an hour. That's off the street when you hire in. These people that are going on strike at these ports are wanting a 77% increase.
Pause.
For the next 6.
They want that is true. They want a 77% increase. Now, if you're in there and you think that they should get a 77% increase, I don't know, have you ever gotten a 77% increase if you're in a union, if you're whatever job that you're in? But that's what they are asking for. That they're asking for a big increase. He's saying 77%, but it depends on the numbers. They're asking for a big increase. And even the reporting is showing that. They're asking for a substantial compensation increase and protections from automation after years of record profits for shipping companies that employ them. Okay, but here's the thing. How can you say that there can be no innovation in technology? That's a tough one, man. Because AI is coming, and what are you going to do? And automation, listen, the plants have been automated. Look what's happening even in the business that I'm in at least when I was in traditional media. Look at what's happening in traditional corporate media. It's shrinking, fewer jobs, people are making less money because of innovations like this. I can go live from my home now. I can go live from a cell phone. I don't need satellites and studios and fiber optic links and all of that. You just go live now. Anyone can be their own network. You can be your own network. And so these guys are saying, hey, no innovation for 6 years. How can you tell a company that they can't innovate and that they can't automate? I don't know. So they're asking, okay, let's continue on with him.
Years. That's 12.8%. Basically, they're wanting to be making $90 to $120 an hour, $150,000 base salary up to, let's say, over $300,000 a year. Off the street, no education, no certificates, no nothing, just off the street, come make this money. 77%. Their union negotiated, said they would do 55%. That still puts them at $60 or $70 an hour, and guess what? They turned it the fuck down. How many of y'all would like to go to a place unloading ships and make $60 to $70 an hour off the street? That's absolutely insane. 77%, you're going on strike because you wouldn't take the 55%. So you don't want to make 60 or 70. That's not good enough. You want 90, 100, $110 an hour, $120 an hour. People like me that work in these paper mills, power plants, these chemical plants that are around asbestos, that you're around chemicals that cause cancer. People are dying at 50, 60 years old because their lungs are disintegrated. Can't breathe. But you know what? We don't go on strike because we got families to feed. We don't go on strike because we signed that contract, that negotiated contract that we agreed to sign to come work for.
Pause.
All of y'all, and on top of
Pause. You signed that contract, and remember who they signed that contract under. And just back it up like a couple, 5 seconds. Remember, that contract was signed in 2018. So for the people who were saying, there was someone in the thing yesterday saying, who's the president now? Well, the president now is going to get them out of this mess. The president who signed it, that they believe was a bogus contract, that was in 2018 under Donald Trump. Now, someone said that they are looking for compensation that they didn't get during COVID. Okay, fair enough. I think that they can do that, but should they be doing it by holding it over the heads of the American people? And then saying no innovation for 6 years? Let's see. I have someone who's a union worker and I want to hear from them. D. Morris says, I am a union worker myself. I work all through COVID every day, all day. And as a union worker, we still have not been paid enough wages for all that we do. Union workers are good workers. We work hard. Absolutely, 100%. I'm not saying here's the thing, okay, that you should understand, D. Morris, is that we're not disparaging, as I said, believe that people should be paid a living and fair wage. We're not talking about all union workers. And I realize that this may trigger union workers because you think that they're referring to all of you. But you're not, all union workers are not on strike, okay? this man who I'm playing here is a union worker as well, and he felt compelled to say, look, I'm a union worker. I make this amount of money, and it's good. We have to feed our families, right? But then he's saying, do you have these other union workers? I believe he's saying he believes that they are holding this over the American people's head and threatening services, and that it's not good and that they shouldn't be doing this. And he believes that they're asking for way too much. I shouldn't say way too much. He believes that their asks, some of them are unreasonable, is what he's saying. Yes, longshoremen is a risky, dangerous job. I had longshoremen that worked for me. That are in my family. My uncle was a longshoreman. My cousin's a longshoreman. We even had women longshoremen in my family. Remember, I grew up on the river in Louisiana. Lots of longshoremen in the family. I get it. And they made great money. It was a tough job. I remember once, they called my aunt. My uncle had fallen into the river and they had to go save him, go get him. It was crazy. It was crazy. My sister's in there. Remember Uncle Willie? He was a longshoreman. Let's continue on.
Negotiated contract that we agreed to sign to come work for. So all of y'all, and on top of being a part of a union, you've got pension plans, you've got 401ks out the ass, you've got the best insurance in the world. You've got some great shit that go with your wage. And you have an opportunity to make up to $200,000 a year. So yeah, for people like me and people, it kind of rubs you wrong because they're on strike down there wanting $120 an hour off the street.
What do you guys think of that? And so we did some research. We found this picture of Mr. Daggett. And there are folks who are investigating, on their relationship. I think they've known each other since, Trump was a businessman here before he ran for president. And apparently they have a relationship and they've known each other for a while. Okay. I believe, though, the union did support Joe Biden, I think, in 2020. The union did. I'm not sure how Daggett felt about that because I think he said Joe Biden had been pro-union for decades, for all of his entire career. But he has a relationship. Now, these are documents, and you can get this. Some of them are public knowledge. Great compensation pay, says Lisa G. Yes. Maybe I should become a longshoreman. These are the documents that show the pay. Let's put them up. So we have the documents. I can't really see them here. Maybe I should look at it here on my phone. Wouldn't you know, my phone would go out when I need to do that. But look at those documents. There it is. So on these documents, over $450,000, when you look at some of these workers, there were 18 of them. Most of them fall within the range of $100,000 to $150,000, $150,000 to $200,000, $200,000 to $250,000, and $250,000 to $300,000. The bulk of them are somewhere 50 to 70. That's the bulk in that range. That's their compensation. So he's not off. When you look at the amount of money and you look at the timing, and is this political? I'm just asking. I'm just asking. So we just need to pay close attention to what's going on. You need to know, you always need to know before you just blindly accept something or that you support someone. This whole idea, though, about innovation, I understand that they're concerned about innovation. I really do. Everybody's concerned about innovation, and perhaps they will probably reach a compromise when it comes to this. But to say that you can't innovate or automate for 6 years? Think about how many cell phones you've had in 6 years, how often you upgrade that. Think about people who, lease cars and you get a car or whatever, and every time you get one, the technology has improved. I don't know, that's a tough one. So I hope it works out. Let me update you on what's happening to our folks down south as we continue to follow that. Hurricane Helene, the death toll has jumped up to 191, as I said, almost 200,000 people all across the states. It's according to the latest tally. More than 2 deaths were announced in Tennessee just a short time ago. Helene is the second deadliest hurricane to strike the U.S. mainland in the past 50 years, following Hurricane Katrina. Hurricane Katrina killed at least 1,800 people, and that was in 2005. So I'm going to give you the breakdown of deaths by state for Helene. In North Carolina, 95 people in North Carolina. South Carolina, 39 people. Georgia, 25 people. Florida, 19 people. Tennessee, 11 people. Virginia, 2 people. And counting. They're having trouble getting services. It's a tough, tough thing. Let's take a look at some of the destruction. This is a drive through Chimney Rock, North Carolina. Look at that. Every time we show this video, one gets worse than the other every single day that we show this. This is Chimney Rock, North Carolina. Just one home after one business after another destroyed. Debris along the side of the road. And this is just a truck driving through, not even stopping. Look at that. Can you imagine?
Whoa.
It's sad. Woe is right to the gentleman who shot that video from the truck. Woe is right. The vice president was in Augusta, Georgia yesterday, passing out meals. You know what? You know what? I like that she's helping out, and this is a way to do retail politics. I like that she's doing that. I like that she's not. I don't know if you saw the Trump thing where they put the bricks around and they did this sort of, they erected a podium, and when they said, just days after the hurricane, hours, and they said, don't come down here, take up the resources in the roads. And then, they told the president and the vice president, we'll tell you when it's appropriate for you to come down. And so apparently Georgia said, hey, you can come down here if you want to. Augusta is a good place to go. You're not going to take up resources there. And so the vice president went, and she's handing out meals, and she's also talking to voters, constituents, and people who need help, and thanking the workers. Good. That's what you do. You go pass out, not throw paper towels, not set up a press conference and lie about the government's help and that Joe Biden, they can't get him and whatever. All of that's a lie. But the MAGA cult will believe it. The MAGA cult will believe it. Okay, I want to update you on a couple of stories that I said, things that you just wanted to know. You guys want to talk about Diddy? We'll talk about Diddy, but let's talk about, first, there's this story with RFK, Robert Kennedy Jr., RFK Jr., and this New York Magazine reporter, Olivia Nuzzi, that we want to talk about. Because there's been an update on this. This story does not end. Where does this story end? At first I said I wasn't going to comment on it because I knew all the people involved, but now I have to comment on it. Okay? Now I have to comment on it. So at least 3 women have claimed that they have had trysts with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. over the last year during his failed presidential run after linking up through an anti-vaccine group that he chairs. That's according to a report. Okay, now let me ask you this. I mean, do you guys care? Look, the Kennedy, they're players. Come on. We know. The Kennedy. Man, if you were a Kennedy, maybe you would be a player. I'm not making excuses for it, but the Kennedys, right? Back in the day, would this have even been a problem? I'm not saying I'm just asking. Would this have been a problem? Because growing up, I knew so many men who had girlfriends on the side and second families, and it was just crazy. But now you can't do that, right? But at least 3 women have claimed that they have had trysts with Robert Kennedy Jr., F. Kennedy Jr., over the last year during his failed presidential event. Now, that's not illegal. But it certainly doesn't speak to the party of family values. They linked up with him through this anti-vaccine group that he chairs. So they're in this anti-vax group. Let's get it on. Ah, baby. Two sources told Mediaite, by the way, is owned by Dan Abrams, right, on Wednesday that they had direct knowledge of the women's allegations, which came to light after news broke that Kennedy, who is 70 years old, had another alleged sexting fling with New York Magazine reporter Olivia Nuzzi. Okay, so you think that's the end of that, right? Remember I see the emojis in the thing. Look, he is, thank you, Steph in the City, he is messy AF. You are absolutely right about that. Not illegal. It's not illegal, but I'm just saying. Nasty. Look, it's not illegal. You want to do, if people have like arrangements in their marriages, that is their business. If they have an arrangement, hey, if it's consenting adults, you do what you want to do. But you cannot be the values and the evangelical party and then pretend that you're that and then you're out, hey, you're out doing what it do. Or as Wendy used to say, dipping and doing. Because that's what they're doing. Meanwhile, a judge on Tuesday granted a civil protective order to Olivia Nuzzi. Where does the story end? The political writer sidelined because of her ties to fringe presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. after she accused her ex-fiancé of harassing and blackmailing her. Okay, that's Ryan Lizza. In her request for a no-contact order, Nuzzi accused her former boyfriend, Ryan Lizza, a prominent political journalist with Politico, also contributor on networks, accused him of organizing a harassment and blackmail campaign against her, culminating with last month's career-threatening disclosure. Is that a thing? Considering that she had the affair, okay, fine. She had an affair. Okay, fine. People do it all the time. Kennedy alleged to had affairs, and we're joking about it, saying "Let's get it on," right? So, I think equal treatment. She had the affair, admitted to it. Said that it was only digital. By the way, whoever wrote that PR thing or approved that, only digital. For those of us before this sort of digital technology, digital meant a whole different thing. Am I right? Am I lying, people? I read that, I was like, wait, what? When they said that, I was like, what? Oh. Because back in the day, that meant something else. I don't think I'm lying about that. Okay, so, but is it because he told? Because he told? Thank you, Casual Observer. That's what I'm talking about. That's what right? Right, that TK, that's what it means. Really, that's what it means. I don't know why they use that term. They could have just said online or sexting or something like that. That would not have used the term digital. Okay. But is it wrong for him to, look, I don't think anybody should be harassing anybody, but if she did it or whatever and someone is mad because, if the shoe were on the other foot, this is just what I'm saying. They would be saying, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. So if a woman had told all of his business, he's a philanderer, he was cheating on me, he had an affair with all of these people, blah, 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 blah. What would people, casual observer, I got you, Don, yes. Casual observer would be saying, I'm not casual observer, people might be saying something different like, you know, he deserved it. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. But she's saying she's trying to take some sort of action against him because he told. She's calling it organizing a harassment and blackmail campaign against her. Now, the blackmail part should not be happening. But just because someone told, I mean, if you were mad, if you caught your other half, whether it's your girlfriend, husband, boyfriend, wife, whatever, if you caught them cheating, aren't you going to tell? Aren't you going to make your case and say, why'd you break up with him? Because he cheated. And let me tell you who he cheated with. Not only he cheated with my friend, Barbara, he cheated with this, he did this. Man, he was doing it in the back of his truck, and I caught him in my driveway, right? That's what people would do. The guy would be the same thing. Man, she was doing it with my homeboy or whatever. So that, I don't know, but the blackmailing thing, that's bad if that is indeed true. Because I think they said that he was trying to get her to come back into the relationship. I don't know if any of that is true, but it just seems weird that you would say somebody because they told. Okay. A blackmail case against her culminating in last month's career-threatening disclosure. Washington, D.C. Superior Court Magistrate Judge Robert Hildum granted Nutsi's request that Liza not have contact with her and stay at least 100 yards away until an October 15th hearing. Liza did not file a response. Okay. Again, all of this stuff is alleged. The story is full of Reddit posts, says Deal. Okay, we'll check that out. Nick says, he told, but was he lying? I don't know. That's a lot, Don. In the driveway, says Hank Lewis. You guys know. You know, people, when they're trying to hide, they find places. You don't always have a home or an apartment or a room available or a hotel. Sometimes you got to get it in where you got to fit it in. You got to get it in where you fit it in or something like that. And so you find a place wherever you can to do your thing. Nutsi asks for the protective order Monday, accusing Liza of seeking to ruin her reputation following their broken relationship. This is a quote. Liza explicitly threatened to make public personal information about me to destroy my life, career, and reputation, a threat he has since carried out, Nutsi alleged in her filing on Monday. Let me just read this and I'm going to tell you something. Nutsi claimed that Liza hacked my devices for purposes of stalking and surveilling me and to collect materials to deploy it as blackmail to intimidate me back into a relationship and to elicit public ridicule and humiliation as well as professional damage as punishment when I would not return to the relationship. Nutsi also accused him of making threats of physical violence to coerce me to agree to assume his share of financial responsibility in the joint book deal they had with a publisher. This is so messy. Okay. This whole thing about coercing her and blackmailing her, I'm not going to make an excuse for that. No one is condoning that. If that did happen again, all of this is alleged. Allegedly. Okay? But being in the public eye, sometimes you have, not sometimes, you have to weigh the consequences. It's a delicate balance. Even if things are not true, and I've been through this, and I mean just recently, just over the last, I'm telling you guys, I'm letting you guys in. I've been through this where people have spread lies about me, have even written things about me that were totally false and untrue, just completely false. just in order to set a narrative about me, or because they didn't like me, or because they were jealous, or because they wanted to get rid of me, or whatever it was. You have to weigh whether you want to respond to those things. Because by responding to those things, you actually sometimes give it more oxygen than it deserves. Because in your head, in your mind, you're like, oh my God, people are thinking this, and then you think, and people are like worrying about, you know, how they're gonna pay their mortgage. Two things. So it's bigger, the drama is always bigger in your head than it is playing outside. And it's all in how you respond to it. If you respond to it with dignity, then it's usually okay. Two things. People have short memories. People have short attention spans. And America can be very forgiving. America loves a comeback story. So you have to like sort of weigh, I want all of the messy details of my personal life and my professional life? Do I want this drama? Thank you, CC. Yep, no weapon formed, Don. No weapon formed. If you handle something with dignity, class, and grace, and you're above it, all of the drama, then it's going to be okay. So by bringing all of this, because look, an affair, look at all the affairs. Bill Clinton had an affair. Bill Clinton's okay. He served a second term. People reelected him after the affair. I think he was reelected after the affair, if I'm right. People have affairs all the time, right? Don, you're generalizing, said Jeff Hastings. I am generalizing. But what I'm saying is that you have to weigh your options if you want all of the messy details of your life in print for people to read on the front page of a newspaper or on a blog. Or if you want them just to speculate about something that you don't confirm. You don't have to confirm it just because people write about it. You don't have to respond to it just because people write about it. But if there is a legitimate reason that you believe that there was stalking or harassment or blackmailing, fine, then do it. But you have to weigh the consequences of what is the long-term impact on your life and career. Because in the moment, it can be like, whoa, like a storm. But that storm can often be a tempest in a teapot, where it's playing really, really big in your head and in your life, and it's not playing that big for other people. Because all of this stuff had seemed to have died down. Isn't life always risk-reward, says Jeff Hastings? Absolutely. So all this stuff had seemed to have died down, and maybe she would have continued on with a suspension or whatever. Maybe they would have fired her or whatever, but she's a very talented person. She probably could go on. I'm sure. Olivia Newt is young, very talented, very smart woman. She'd go on to get another gig, and I'm sure she would be fine. But I'm just saying, I feel for all the folks involved here, for Olivia, for Ryan, for everyone involved here. It's just, wow. So drama. We're going to follow this one because there appears to be one development after another. Okay, let's go on to talk about the former First Lady, who is Melania Trump. Former First Lady Melania Trump has a new memoir out. And it's just called Melania. And where she talks about her life, she says she wants to set the record straight. This is her talking about, I want to get her talking about the book and what the book is about, because there is a development that I want to share. I'm not sure if this clip gives a development away, but let's just play the clip of her talking about her book. Actually, let's play the ABC report about the book. Here it is.
Trump's defense of abortion rights. The former First Lady reportedly wrote in her upcoming memoir that abortion is a, quote, woman's fundamental right, end quote, in opposition to her husband's views. Rachel Scott joined us with more. Good morning, Rachel.
Hey, Michael, good morning to you. Yes, Melania Trump reportedly at odds with her husband on the key issue of abortion rights. This news coming in the final stretch as the Trump campaign is working overtime trying to appeal to female voters.
This morning in the final weeks of the 2024 campaign, and just as her husband is trying to appeal to female voters, a report that Melania Trump is publicly breaking with her husband on abortion rights. In her upcoming memoir, the former First Lady reportedly writing, "Why should anyone other than the woman herself have the power to determine what she does with her own body? A woman's fundamental right of individual liberty to her own life grants her the authority to terminate her pregnancy if she wishes," adding that a woman's autonomy should be free from any intervention or pressure from the government, and reportedly writing she has carried this belief throughout her entire adult life. The excerpts were obtained exclusively by The Guardian.
Okay, all right. Fine if she wants to believe that. Where was that? We'd never heard that before. Timing. Do you believe this? Do you believe this, right? The question I'm asking is if you believe it because Melania Trump has had issues with, this is say things. Remember the "I don't care, do you" jacket? After she was criticized for what was going on, and she was, the kids in cages thing was happening at the border, and then she gets on with a "I don't care, do you" jacket on. And remember, she opened herself up to this, right? She's the one that wrote the thing. She wants to set the record straight. Let's set the record straight because Melania Trump has co-signed her husband's BS for decades now. Her husband's bigotry, her husband's racism, her husband's lack of empathy for what's happening with kids in cages and just many things. And it's a weird position to be in because oh my gosh, you're attacking a woman. Look, they attack Michelle Obama all the time. So, whatever. I don't care. I don't care. Do you? I don't care. Do you? All right? She's a birther. My friend Joy Behar on the Joy Behar show back in the day when they were asking about the former, before he was president, Barack Obama's birth certificate and whether he was even eligible to be president and whether or not he should step down as president because they believe that he wasn't born in America. And she doubled down on it on Joy's show on HLN. Here's receipts. Watch.
But what is this with the birth certificate obsession? Did he ask to see yours when you met him?
I needed to put mine anyway because if you want to become an American citizen, you need to put the birth certificate.
Right.
I have a birth certificate from Slovenia. And do you want to see President Obama birth certificate or not?
I've seen it.
It's not the birth certificate.
Well, it's a certificate of live birth,
right,
which they give. But Melania, if he insists on what he's saying, then no one in Hawaii can ever run for president because they all get the same live birth certificate.
Well, but they need to have...
Midler is finished, for example.
They need to have, and in one way, it will be very easy if President Obama just show it, and because it's not only Donald who wants to see it; it's American people who voted for him and who didn't vote for him. They want to see that.
But it's on display in Chicago. We've seen it on the internet. We've seen it. It's not the same as yours, but it's a certificate of live birth.
Well, we feel it's different than birth certificate.
All right. Well, I think you should give it up at this point.
Well, it's not him that it's bringing up. It's the media all the time. His points are really about bringing back the jobs, economy, healthcare, all the stuff. But they leech on that one issue and they're going on and on and on.
Because they think that he's being obsessive about it, and that
he's not. He's more obsessed about. No, I would not say obsessed. He's very passionate about the country to doing well and to to be what it was once before. Because can you imagine next generation, the children, our children, how they will do it's just going down, down, down.
Well, we were doing great during the Clinton administration, and then somebody came in, I'm not saying who.
Joy, I love you, Joy. Oh my God, that gave me a headache. I feel dumber now having watched that. I swear, I feel like I've lost brain cells having watched that. How can you really? Is she blink twice, Melania? I'm just saying. You're an immigrant And you're an immigrant to this country, and and you're trying to talk about Barack Obama and a certificate of live birth, like semantics. That's why I'm saying everyone's like, oh, Melania, she's stand up now. She's at abortion rights. The thing is, can you believe her? Can you believe her? This is how she's selling her book, where she's saying she wants to tell the truth about what's going on. Here it is.
Freedom is a fundamental principle that I safeguard. Without a doubt, there is no room for compromise when it comes to this essential right that all women possess from birth: individual freedom. What does my body, my choice really mean?
Do you believe her? Do you believe her? Do you believe her? Does it matter? She has become really a font for jokes from comedians. Watch. Roy Wood Jr.
For Lie Curious, the rules are very simple. I give you 3 biographical details about a public figure, but only one of those facts is true. You have to guess which is the truth and which are dirty, filthy lies. Let's get started. We've got former First Lady Melania Trump. Our 3 facts about her are: she's colorblind, she voiced the Aflac duck, she recorded a dance song under the name Nadia X.
Nadia X feels right.
Yeah, I would say she's colorblind because she has to look at that man all the time and act like he's not orange.
But then you would also need to be shape blind, ethics blind, morality blind, like so many things.
You're right, let's go with 3.
Yeah.
Okay, over here.
Voiced the Aflac duck? Like, in what world would that be true? Aflac.
Answer: Melania Trump once did a commercial where she voiced the Aflac duck. Wow. I love the gas that just came over the room. She did? In 2005, Melania appeared in an ad where she traded voices with the iconic insurance mascot.
All right. So, look, again, when you put yourself... Oh, did you guys want to hear that? Do you guys want to hear the Aflac duck? Sorry. I kind of want to hear it. I didn't realize it.
I can help pay your bills with cash.
Genius! And her? Aflac!
All right, that's enough. So when you put yourself out in the public eye, you open yourself up to things like that. So there you go. I just want to leave. I'm going to leave you guys with this last story. So Melania, come on. She's on the side of women. Women's right, bodily autonomy. Okay. So this whole thing about Diddy, Diddy, the allegedly harassed or was inappropriate with at least 120 more victims. That's according to an attorney who has filed civil suit and allegations, who's filing civil suit, saying there's 120 people. Now, this attorney opened up this hotline asking people, and I forget what they call it, the Diddy or something hotline, which is very interesting to people, and it's also raising some eyebrows among people. So the attorney also held a press conference announcing the charges. I'll just let him talk about it just for a little bit, and then we'll discuss what's going on.
I'll visit with you real quickly before we close here about some specific instances without disclosing the victim's name. You probably know that depending on the age of the victim, you can file these individual cases, under Jane Doe or John Doe. Each state is different in that respect. Typically, there is a balancing test, like the public's right to know the name of the victim and plaintiff versus the confidentiality and the safety of the plaintiff. So we'll have to struggle with that with each one of these cases. Our intention, of course, is to, like we always do, file these cases under a pseudonym until the court tells us otherwise. But let me share with you a few, just kind of give you a sense of the kind of cases and the kind of instances that people are calling and reporting that we are trying to corroborate, vet, and these are the ones that we've already corroborated, vetted, and collected evidence on. one individual who was 22 years at the time she was assaulted said that the typical MO at one of these parties that have been widely discussed in the press was that when you were handed a drink, and now we know that the drink is laced with something, if you refused to drink it, you were kicked out of the party. Now, let that sink in for a minute. I mean, the admission to this party was that you had to drink the chosen drink that was handed to you. And now we know that in most cases, I would say 90% of the cases, these individuals were drugged with some sort of drug.
Okay, so that's the accusation, and we know there's an accusation that they said that there was apparently a 9-year-old at the time or whatever. So as I said yesterday on the Live at 5 show, Lemon Live at 5, that it was some of the accusations are just too horrific to talk about. But the thing is that what people are wondering about, is this a pile-on? Is this attorney piling on? And again, allegedly, and that's what folks are talking about. I don't know if he is or not. I'm not sure. His reputation, he's represented some big people. But the question is whether all of this is true, whether people are, if it's a money grab, if you're putting a hotline out there and you're asking people to call, how do you vet all these people? And then they call in and they give you these stories. Like, how do you know it's just not a money grab if it's true or not? I guess you go through the evidence. But that's what people are talking about. I was listening to, on social media, Charlemagne on the Breakfast Club saying, okay, this guy had a website or he had a hotline, and then he just so happens to have 120 victims, and 60 of them divided evenly happen to be 60 women and 60 men. 1-800 number will be a hot mess. So he said at 12, I think he says 12,000 people called or something like that you said. So, you know, that's a lot of people calling. Again, I'm always on the side of the victim. I'm always on the side for these cases meeting out the true end. And I'm always on the side of this being adjudicated. But that's where we're going with this. Laced drinks, young people, underage people. They said out of 2,000 calls, they got 120 cases. Robin Walker says it's giving ambulance chaser. Linda Washington says, I don't know about, Linda Washington says, I don't know about all of this BS. The lawyers have to do their due diligence, says Illustrious Meme. You're right. So that's where we are right now. And Diddy is still in jail. He's going to be in jail for a while until at least a trial. I don't know if he'll ever see, he'll see the light of day as he's transported to court, but will he ever see life outside of a jail cell? Yakimo says, exactly, a money grab. Now, just because people come in and it may be a money grab, it doesn't mean that there aren't some legitimate cases. And we know the ones, at least the ones that, we know the Cassie one's legitimate. We saw the video. So, it's making mockery of true victims, says Game Queen 81. Thank you guys for watching. Live at 5 is going to be today, live at 5, so make sure you tune in then. And also, we have some shorts, just the clips that we've been putting up from the shows, some takes and stuff that we do. So the big episodes that you get an alert for and notified about, you'll see those. But sometimes we put things up that you're not notified about. So check the channel. Make sure you hit the thumbs up before you get out of here. Okay? Ain't no money grab, just like pre-stuff, says my cat's meow. Okay, maybe you're right. So I'm just reporting what's out there. We talk about hot topics, and that's what we're doing. So our thoughts and prayers go out to all the folks down south who are dealing with the aftermath of the hurricane. And we're thinking about, obviously, the victims in the Diddy thing. We want to know what's going on with the Longshoreman and the dock workers, of course. You're up to date on that. And the RFK Jr. story, he's a player. And the new redacted documents in the Donald Trump election fraud case. Thank you, Kimberly Holland. I appreciate it. Make sure you hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe. We're on our way to 300,000, okay? Have a great day. I'll see you all soon. Bye.